like most of your head.
Is Gary joining us?
Gary out there?
It says 4.
Nope, Gary is not here.
Okay. Oh, that's changed. It's number 4.
Okay. Have we heard anything from Gary?
Recently.
No.
Do you with him?
I got my pen in my pocket.
But not her.
Thank you. I remember.
After the board meeting, but not this.
Give it another minute, okay, for Gary if he comes on.
Is he still down here or is he home?
We don't know.
Oh,
Charlotte, do you have voice, sound?
Yes.
Okay. We hadn't heard anything out of you, so we just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Let me text. I'm texting Gary. He's having technical issues.
Charlotte, if it looks a little different to you, Richard said it's a different program.
Oh, okay.
Or James said it's a different program.
Yeah, we have a bigger shot of each one of you than we had before.
Okay.
Then I
Cool.
should turn my computer around so you can see the ocean instead of me.
Oh, wow.
I will at the end, so you can see what.
Okay.
It's too glaring to try to work that way.
No, I have not heard from him, so I think we just
Okay.
he can join us.
Now it's 8:31. Let's go ahead. Gary can join us. We can
I'll stand up.
try to do the pledge first, followed by a moment of silence. Ron, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of
of the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we could have roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett? Absent. Mr. Fowler? Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Pierce?
Yes,
Mr. Steven?
Yes. The next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda and minutes from January 26, 2021. Under new items, there is no addendum. So the only thing I would note is that item number 12, executive session, that should be a separate vote. So that we would, under new business, do 1 through 11.
so moved.
All right, I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Fowler, first by Ms. Pierce.
Excuse me, Mr. Steeman.
Yes.
I have a message from Mr. Bartlett. He is still in Florida and having to take his parents to get their second shot right now. So he will not be able to interview.
Gary's still in Florida, guys.
Oh.
Just found that out.
Does he have the phone number?
He is busy caring for his parents, so he is not able to join us.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I
He
didn't.
sends his apologies.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We need roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett's absent. Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Pierce?
Yes,
Mr. Steven?
Yes. Public participation, as always, is welcome, but we have no one this morning, so we'll continue on to the financial report. I need a motion and a second to approve the following financial items, and once we have the motion, we can have discussion.
So
Moved by Mr. Fowler,
second.
Seconded by Ms. Pierce. Laura?
We are, if you look at the cash summary report, fund balances, you'll still see those negatives and related services. Marie and I are still having meetings with the superintendents and treasurers to discuss that billing. I'm hoping we'll come to a resolution after this week so we can get the billings out to cover those costs. Otherwise, things have been hectic as usual, and we've been getting the job done, keeping things on track. The only oddity in the appropriation adjustments is under the related services SLP for medical. That would be the biggest adjustment in there. It appears that when I set the budget and moved all the SLPs out of preschool, I didn't move the medical at the beginning of the year. So that's why you're seeing that big increase right now. And then the other big increase was for one of our grants. So that's all grant funding. That covers most of it. And then a lot of adjustments have been made with the gear funding as we make decisions about how we want to spend the money. We have to move the lines, get it approved by ODE, and it's all grant funding, so it doesn't touch the general fund balance. It's just adjustments that have to be constantly made. So that's why you see that. Other than that, I have nothing else to report on. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions from anyone?
No?
Thank you.
Okay. Then we need to take a roll call on the motion, please.
Mr. Bartlett's absent. Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Pierce?
Yes?
Mr. Seaman?
Yes. Next item of business deals with new business. Those are items 1 through 11. And if I could have a motion and a second, then we can have discussion.
So moved.
Thank you. Ms. Owens moved. I need a second. I'll second it. That way we can keep moving forward. All right. Marie, anything special you want to point out to us?
We have a very short agenda for this board meeting. I tried to point out on the memo what was happening currently. Andrea Trimmer, if you recall from the last board meeting, we had brought her on board to provide additional support, or not Andrea, Amanda Johnson. We had brought on board to help support Lexi Reeves during her maternity leave. She's really picked up what she's doing very quickly. So when we had additional need arise with our attendance officers, so we have 2 attendance officers, Michelle Matchett, who's assigned to Lancaster City Schools, and Marcy Wesselhoff, who's assigned to the small districts, present during one of my regular meetings with them that we in January, we had already exceeded the number of truancy cases that we did all of last year. I brought that concern to the district superintendents, asking for additional support to help them in the processing of paperwork. So there's a whole process to how the filings have to occur in the communication with juvenile court and prosecutor's office, et cetera. So we, rather than doing a new hire, we approached Amanda to see if she would be willing to take on another couple of days with no guarantees beyond this year, but to at least provide that support for the remainder of this academic year. So you'll see that the board agenda reflects, we're not rehiring her for the same days. Those are another couple of days that we are providing additional support by her to the ESC. So that is that's one item I wanted to point out. On the next page, I also want to talk about, and I can roll this into a little bit of the report that I was going to give anyway, through the superintendent's report regarding the COVID-19 vaccine. So you're probably aware that the governor's office asked ESCs to step up and provide the coordination of all the public and non-public vaccine distribution to occur in the county for educators. Fairfield County is this week, so we're week 4. In the process of doing that, the provider that we're working with is Fairfield Medical. So Fairfield Medical is providing the actual shots in arms, and they have a team of staff that are doing the actual administration of the vaccines. And this is all taking place at the Memorial Drive River Valley campus. But the ESC was required to provide administrative support, lead the scheduling, so we have administrative access to their scheduling tool, provide the communication with publics and non-publics, and do the day of coordination and support. And so you see on this agenda supplemental contracts that will be provided to central office staff who are helping in this effort that is beyond their normal hours and will be tracked on timesheets, so they will be paid accordingly. I just have to say, James and Courtney have been instrumental in all of this flowing as well as it has. We have Thursday to Saturday, almost 2,700 vaccines that are already scheduled, and we're managing wait lists right now. And all of people change their mind. It's been interesting. But we do have some funds that will likely be coming from the state to help offset these costs. But it will happen in arrears, and we do not have that contract yet. So I just want to be completely transparent. It has been an interesting opportunity for educational service centers in the state of Ohio to actually have some coverage and some attention that we've never had. We've always kind of stayed under the radar, and folks didn't know we were existing, and now we're readily being looked to by the department and the governor's office as a critical entity to help in this process. So we are getting to Pfizer. So we will be repeating this week's process in 3 weeks with the second dose distribution. So that's why those supplementals are on the agenda, and it is based on their actual hourly rate. That's why the rates are different. Does that make sense? Any questions regarding that?
No.
Excuse me, we also have 40 some volunteers for districts that we are not paying. So we sent a survey out to districts with particular roles we needed help with, and we do have additional support from districts as well to get this done. It's going to be literally 100 immunizations an hour. We have 15 people scheduled every 10 minutes. So this is going to be quite the production. If you'd like to come by to see the entertainment, you're welcome to. The Lancaster Gazette will be there on, I think, Friday. They're going to show up to do a story.
I will come by to see what's happening, but I would come by in 3 weeks to get a shot. I have shots, and I'm not jumping the line down here. People are jumping the line down here big time, but I am not getting into that mess.
So Mary, that's it. We are not allowed to give first shots on.
I didn't figure you would be. That's what I thought.
No, we're also not allowed to give shots to board members.
Okay, I'm on about 4 different lists, so I'm not worried.
Which was interesting to me, but I think it was just the optics of it, and we got very clear direction. It's been interesting because week 1, the rules and the assumptions that the week 1 counties operated under and what we're operating under is week 4 as they've learned more are very different in some ways, but it is what it is. We're just grateful that we're even going to have this opportunity, and we now have public.
Yeah, we have a cat.
Very public.
Oh.
Any questions for anyone?
Thank you. Thank you for the good work. And not surprising that board members can't get it, because if they're not doing preschool teachers.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
I did have a question about the adjustment for the truancy. That looks like, it looks like it's a 12-month contract, but does the truancy continue throughout the summer?
Those contracts are through July, but the days, so like how the days get split up, like her truancy days will be through May, and then
Okay.
I'll absorb her through the summer. I'm in dire need of more help, and we'll talk more about the return of my payroll person, or Lexi's no longer payroll, but as Lexi, after her maternity leave, she has requested to come back in a part-time capacity. So I need to fill a few voids on my end too. So this worked out well for me in my office, and she needed the help too. So to be able to keep Amanda a little bit longer. And like Marie said, for right now, it's just the 1 year. So July through July 31st, which the treasurer's office is very busy in the summer.
So Charlotte, what happens is we have some positions where there's actually multiple assignments that are rolled into a full-time position. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Every employee who is in sort of that shared service model, we build out a calendar so that we still honor the number of days. So the flow of how those days lay out is relative to the work. So even though it's a 0.40 FTE for attendance services, that 0.40 of days, the equivalent number of days, will be done between now and May, and the balance of those days to make her whole will be done in the summer in the or in the treasurer's office. Does that make sense? So at the end of the year, we're whole in terms of what the FTE equivalency is, though that doesn't work out necessarily on a week-to-week basis. Does that make sense? Because it's just how the flow of the work goes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
The resignation in line 6.
That's a formality. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we have our preschool paraprofessionals. They have to give a 30-day notice if they decide to leave.
This one, we hired her at one board meeting, and she actually decided not to accept the position. So we did get her to send in a resignation. This particular one is for that.
Okay.
Like, we had offered her the job, she originally accepted, and then she was like, no. So instead of rescinding her contract, she just effective immediately resigned.
So hold on a second, because Amy, hold on a second.
Whoops.
I'm just texting before we act on that. Because now that the vaccines are available, I think she's now saying she wants the position. So we may have to do.
But we have the signed resignation.
Oh my God. All right. So we'll just have to wait till the next board meeting.
Do another action on that, but I have a signed resignation.
COVID, gonna make me crazy.
Is something at the table rather than?
I'd rather accept it, and then, because we have to do a whole new contract, because she didn't start when the original contract was approved for her to start. Does that make sense? So like, we had done the original contract based on a certain number of days, which obviously she hasn't worked.
So you'd have to do another.
I would have to do another contract anyway.
Or a contract adjustment.
Either way, there would be action on the next board. I would rather accept the resignation as is.
Okay.
And
It
then
is the same person that's,
it is.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like she hasn't got her mind totally.
Yeah.
Well, I
made up
think it had to do
as is.
with COVID. She was literally about coming in if she couldn't get a vaccine. And I told Amy yesterday, we have a spot. So if the issue's that, we can get her a vaccine this week.
Oh.
And so now she's
Even though
saying,
she's a preschool teacher?
How can she have the vaccine if she's not an employee?
she will be employed.
Marie can hire between board
I can
meetings, so
hire
if she
between board
decides to accept between
Yeah.
now and the next board meeting, that's fine. But in order to act, I would rather accept the resignation on this position because again, it's gonna change the number of days and everything. She hasn't worked at all.
It's so hard to find people right now.
I know,
What you're trying to do is follow step 1 to step
Right.
2, step 3.
right.
So let's,
I'd like to accept it, but
So,
that's
the ESC preschool employees can get vaccinated. It's what?
so,
Private ones that can't?
right, so here's where the line got drawn. Our preschool employees are serving children with disabilities that we are statutorily obligated to serve. Kids in the
Okay.
general preschool, there is no legal obligation to serve them. That's parent choice. We're not a universal preschool state. So that's where that line got drawn.
Okay.
That if it is a preschool teacher in a public school building and they are serving children with disabilities, they were given access to the vaccine. All the articles you saw in the paper are people who are just general preschool people, like the St. Mary's preschool. They're not serving kids with disabilities. They're not engaging in child find activities. They're serving kids that, the parents just in the public would like their kids going to preschool. They do not qualify currently for vaccines. So
Okay.
we manage that whole mess, and everybody will have to show up with verification of their employment. So for example, with this, let's say I'm to hire this young lady in between board meetings, she would have to have a letter on letterhead from us verifying that she's been recently employed to be able to get a vaccine. All that information has to get uploaded into the federal system, which is we'll have 8 data input systems where all that information has to be put into a system.
Jeez.
It's a whole thing. It is, I don't even know how to explain how much work this has been.
So on this, Jennifer, Noel, what your recommendation is accept the resignation. She essentially is going to reapply.
right.
And at
Essentially,
that
we
point,
do
she would
hire.
have a new contract.
Yes.
The
That would
only
have my-
thing I would ask is that we make sure we know, exactly what her intents are, so that we have an idea.
Right.
But I
Because if she
understand
gets the
why.
vaccination this week and then decides not to actually work for us. I mean, that would be my concern.
Well, there's not a whole lot I can do
I know,
about that.
I know.
I mean, it's a gamble. It's like the same gamble that was taken with the fight that you're hearing from the governor's office. All these public school buildings that we all signed it. We signed it. The agreement that we'd be all in on March 1, and now they're backtracking. Well, you can't take the vaccine out of their arm. But right now, it's so hard to recruit and hire people in any of these positions. It's a gamble I'm willing to take for one person who can support Pickerington.
Any other items under new business that are questions?
Would you want to say anything about the early IT program, University of Cincinnati?
So the early IT program is a program for high school students that the University of Cincinnati has created that offers the opportunity for college credit plus as high school students, and then allows them to then move into a degree program as a high school graduate. In this county, Pickerington and Liberty Union Thurston are currently a part of that agreement with the University of Cincinnati. John Toffel, if you know that name, I've known John forever and a day. He used to be the head of the Board of Regents, Ohio Board of Regents. He is now consulting with the University of Cincinnati and helping them with the rollout and the expansion of the number of teachers credentialed to serve as instructors for this program, and they're interested in the expansion in the number of districts that participate or allows students to participate in this program. So they've decided to contract with us to help them with that expansion process. And against that contract, we are going to engage Dustin Piles, who has been in the area for years and years and has done work in the STEM arena and has really good relationships with numerous districts, to actually be the boots on the ground person to do that work through the end of this academic year. I simply don't have time to do it. I don't have any other employees who have time to do it. He has the skill set, he can hit the ground running, and we will do what we do with every other agreement and take our percent off the top. So it's a win-win in a lot of ways, and really no downsides. And then we'll reassess at the end of this year, at the end of this summer, and the University of Cincinnati may want to formalize an agreement with us to a greater extent beyond that. So that's in essence what that contract is all about, or those contracts are all about. Does that make sense?
Yes. So I was trying to think about college credit plus. For other courses, either schools have teachers accredited with a master's in the area, or else students are either coming to campus and taking them. Who pays for that now? Is that the school district?
Yes.
Or the state?
Well, there's not enough time of the day to go through how school funding occurs, but there is funding that is available to offset the costs for districts, but they have a statutory obligation to allow access to College Credit Plus. So that continues to evolve in terms of how the funding flows. We're in a budget year right now, so that there'll be some changes, I would assume, with the budget that's currently going through the hearing process for the next biennium. But in essence, it's as you said, Charlotte, any student who qualifies given the criteria that's been set by that institution. So it might be that they have to have a 3.0 grade point average, or they have to take the college entrance exam, whatever it might be, and prerequisite courses, could have access to College Credit Plus. They either receive that in really one of three ways, not two ways. One is there could be an instructor that has attained those 18 hours in a master's or master's plus degree in the content area in which you're teaching, or the instructor is virtual and it's an instructor, an adjunct of the institution of higher education that has a class of students that includes kids from multiple campuses, but it's done virtually, or kids travel to campus. Those are really the three ways that it's being done. Early IT, this is a sort of a new venture. So there aren't a whole lot of people out there who are credentialed or want to be credentialed. So it does require additional support to get this rolling, but ultimately the district has to pay for it. They receive some funding from the state, but ultimately they have an obligation to pay for it.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Any additional questions? If not, roll call, please.
Mr. Bartlett's absent. Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes. We now need a motion to go into executive session to discuss employment of public employee in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121.22. Do I have a motion for executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Pierce,
Seconded.
seconded by Ms. Owens. Roll call, please.
Ms. Bartlett's absent. Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Ms. Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Seaman?
Yes.
Time is up, 8:59 a.m.
I'll let you
All
guys
right, I'm out
walk
of here.
out and Laura will be back to get you.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you need me to leave you with any of my?
You can leave whatever you want.
I emailed all of you my goals from last year and this year for those of you that aren't here physically. But I'll go ahead and give Ron and Lou. This is just a reminder of what we,
Okay, thank you.
that's all I. New Year.
Let me make sure. I moved Charlotte and Mary. I gotta move you guys. So.
Okay, okay, all right. Glad to see the sun. I don't know, Mary, Charlotte, you still out there? We can't see you at the moment. Just waiting on James to take care of muting us for the executive session. I guess they're not there. I think as long as we have this video stuff going, we're gonna probably want to make sure he does this every time if we go into the executive session. Ron, I think we lost those two. Modern technology. I have to admit, I'll be glad when we can go back to all in person. I don't like the idea of seeing myself on the screen.
It's some good food at the last career center meeting, the culinary arts people. Chicken and waffles on little stick things.
Oh, that's good.
Beautiful cupcakes. I brought one for my wife. She put it in this glass jar. It's like a piece of art sitting there. Yeah, it's pure
Oh,
chocolate.
those kids can do some amazing stuff.
I didn't know in our report for it, there was a student who graduated from Gahanna early and terminal illness.
Oh,
And I guess she was really good. She was in that program.
I hate hearing that, especially a young person.